Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
It's February 9th, 2026, America's biggest sporting event. 128.2 million people watching live, billions more streaming worldwide. And the halftime performer is an artist who sings almost entirely in Spanish, represents a U.S. territory most Americans forget exists, and has spent years publicly criticizing immigration policies and government responses to Puerto Rican crises. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, according to half the country, or everything could go right, according to the other half. The thing is, both sides were expecting the wrong show entirely. Let's rewind to where this whole mess actually started. October 2024, Madison Square Garden, a Trump rally. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe takes the mic and delivers what he probably thought was an edgy joke.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
The crowd laughed. Bad Bunny didn't. Within hours, he reposted Kamala Harris clips criticizing Trump's Puerto Rico policies. No caption, no explanation, just a very clear, "I see you and I'm not forgetting this." That moment set everything in motion for what would become the most politically charged, culturally significant, and wildly misunderstood Super Bowl halftime performance in history. By the way, welcome to Celebrity Hip Hop Showroom, where hip hop and celebrity drama never sleep. So hit that subscribe button so you never miss the mess. Let's get into it. Fast forward to September 2025. The NFL announces Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl LX halftime performer. Immediately, the internet combusts into two camps. People celebrating the first primarily Spanish-language halftime show in Super Bowl history, and people absolutely losing their minds that the NFL didn't pick a real American. Here's where the cognitive dissonance gets almost beautiful in its absurdity. Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico, a United States territory since 1898. Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They've served in every U.S. war since World War I. They pay federal taxes. They can't vote for president, but they're still Americans. Yet somehow the conversation became whether he was American enough to perform at the Super Bowl. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a machete. Bad Bunny responded to the announcement with a statement that, in hindsight, was basically a trailer for everything he was about to do. "What I'm feeling goes beyond myself. It's for those who came before me and ran countless yards so I could come in and score a touchdown. This is for my people, my culture, and our history." Translation? Buckle up, because I'm about to educate y'all whether you asked for it or not. Now here's where you need to understand who Bad Bunny actually is. Because he's not just some pop star who lucked into a Super Bowl slot. He's a cultural powerhouse often called Latin America's Drake, except critics and fans alike agree he's already outgrown that comparison. He's one of the world's most streamed artists. He sells out stadiums in minutes. He doesn't need English lyrics to dominate global charts. He's transcended language barriers the way Despacito did, except he did it while staying unapologetically Puerto Rican. And he's never been quiet about politics. Back in 2017, after Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico and the federal response was slower than a dial-up modem, Bad Bunny showed up to a charity concert wearing a shirt that read, "Eres un usuario de Twitter" or "Eres un presidente," which translates to, "Are you a Twitter user or are you a president?" The shade? Absolutely immaculate. In 2019, he joined 500,000 Puerto Ricans marching through San Juan's streets demanding the governor's resignation over corruption scandals. In 2022, one of his music videos directly aptly tackled gentrification, failing power grids, and beach privatization in Puerto Rico, all symptoms of the colonial relationship nobody likes to discuss openly. By 2024, he was posting support for Kamala Harris during the presidential election, specifically after that floating island of garbage comment at the Trump rally. This is not an artist who stays quiet when things matter to him. So when the Super Bowl announcement dropped, everyone knew this performance wasn't going to be just choreography and pyrotechnics. It was going to be a statement. And the backlash started immediately. Conservative groups freaked out. Politicians who'd never heard a Bad Bunny song in their lives suddenly had very strong opinions about NFL booking decisions. President Trump, back in office at the time, reportedly called the choice a mistake. Some Republican figures suggested the league should have picked a more American act, completely ignoring basic geography and civics. Then, Turning Point USA, founded by Charlie Kirk and run by his wife, Erica Kirk, announced they'd be hosting an all-American halftime show as a counter encounter event, headlined by Kid Rock. We'll get to how spectacularly that went later, and trust me, it's chef's kiss levels of disaster. Meanwhile, reports started swirling that the Department of Homeland Security was paying extra attention to the halftime show. Corey Lewandowski, a senior advisor connected to the department, allegedly claimed ICE agents would be present for security purposes. Whether that was true, posturing, or just stirring the pot, it added another layer of tension to an already explosive situation. The immigration enforcement angle wasn't random noise, by the way. It was the entire subtext of why this performance mattered so much. See, by late 2025, ICE had received record funding under new federal programs. Reports circulated about Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota, described by local officials and journalists as one of the agency's most aggressive enforcement pushes in years. Demonstrations erupted across multiple states. Thousands voiced frustration. The story dominated national coverage for weeks. By early January 2026, tensions hit a breaking point when multiple incidents tied to ICE operations in Minneapolis gained national attention. Details varied, but the public reaction was explosive. Rallies, marches, nationwide conversations demanding accountability. Polls suggested more than half of Americans believe ICE tactics had become too extreme, while others defended the agency's mission as essential to national security. By late January, the situation was being described in media as a national flashpoint, a moment symbolizing how deeply divided the country had become over immigration enforcement. And into this political powder keg walks Bad Bunny, an artist who spent years criticizing those exact policies, about to perform at America's biggest cultural event. The pressure was astronomical. Some of Bad Bunny's detractors insisted an American-born artist should have been chosen, ignoring, again, that Puerto Ricans are American citizens. Supporters clapped back, reminding everyone that Bad Bunny was representing millions of Americans too. Bad Bunny addressed all the drama head-on during his Saturday Night Live monologue, saying he was thrilled to perform and represent his roots. He emphasized how much it meant to celebrate Latin heritage on one of the world's biggest stages. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell backed the decision publicly. He's one of the leading and most popular entertainers in the world. That's what we try to achieve. Goodell even joked he couldn't remember a single halftime show that didn't draw criticism from someone. Then, 1 week before the Super Bowl, Bad Bunny made history by becoming the first artist to win Album of the Year at the Grammys with a Spanish-language project. In his acceptance speech, he said, "I want to dedicate this award to all the people who had to leave their homeland, their country, to follow their dreams." Then he closed with a line that instantly went viral.
I'm gonna say, eyes out.
Ice fuera. We're not savages. We're not animals. We're not aliens. We are humans. And we are Americans. The crowd erupted. Social media exploded. And everyone watching knew, whatever Bad Bunny was about to do at the Super Bowl, it was going to be deeply personal. So the Super Bowl arrives. February 9th, 2026. The stage is set. Literally. The entire football field has been transformed into something nobody's ever seen at a halftime show before. Everyone's expecting a fiery political protest, maybe some direct shots at Trump, definitely something confrontational, anti-ICE chants, protest imagery, anger. Bad Bunny did the complete opposite. He gave them celebration, unity, education, a masterclass in cultural storytelling so layered with symbolism that people are still arguing about what certain moments meant weeks later. Now, here's the part where you really need to hit that subscribe button, because what actually happened during that performance is where this story goes from controversial to downright genius. Every frame was intentional. Every symbol meant something. Every moment was a callback to history most Americans never learned in school. If you want the full breakdown, the stuff the cameras didn't explain, the references that flew over most people's heads, the political chess moves disguised as dance routines, you're going to want to stay locked in. We decode the chaos so you don't have to. All right, back to it. From a bird's eye view, the stage looked like sugarcane fields in Puerto Rico. Beautiful, lush, green. Harmless, right? Except here's the twist that made people's jaws drop. The fields weren't props. They were hundreds of performers dressed in green, moving in perfect formation, creating a living, breathing landscape. Within minutes, Reddit users started dissecting the symbolism. One wrote, "This calls out Puerto Rico's slave history and being exploited for its resources and labor." America invaded Puerto Rico in 1898, devalued its currency, and turned its fertile land into sugarcane farms, which caused widespread poverty. Whether Bad Bunny explicitly intended that interpretation or fans read into it, the imagery was impossible to ignore. The entire opening sequence was a visual history lesson disguised as a dance routine. Sugar production in Puerto Rico has a dark colonial past, tied to slavery, exploitation, and economic control that continues in different forms today. But Bad Bunny wasn't lecturing, he was showing, and that made it way more powerful. Midway through, Bad Bunny dropped a snippet of Daddy Yankee's Gasolina and shouted to the crowd, "You're listening to music from Puerto Rico, from the barrios, from the projects." It was a shout out to the streets that built reggaeton from the ground up, a genre that was literally illegal in Puerto Rico at one point because authorities considered it vulgar and dangerous. Now it's dominating global charts, selling out stadiums worldwide, and headlining the Super Bowl. The irony of that trajectory wasn't lost on anyone paying attention. Then came one of the most emotional moments. Bad Bunny handed his Grammy, the one he just won for Album of the Year, to a young boy on stage. Viewers immediately started speculating the child was Liam Ramos, a boy once reported to have been detained by ICE. Turns out it was a young actor named Lincoln Fox, cast to represent resilience and hope. But the confusion itself became part of the conversation. People wanted that moment to carry deeper meaning. They wanted it to be about ICE, about detained children, about families separated. And in many ways, even though it wasn't literally that boy, the symbolism still landed exactly as intended. Throughout the performance, Bad Bunny kept weaving in cultural tributes that casual viewers might have missed, but that hit hard for those who knew. He brought out the 85-year-old owner of New York's iconic Caribbean Social Club, one of the last surviving hubs of Puerto Rican music and community in a city where gentrification has systematically pushed out Latino cultural spaces. Even the taco stand on stage sparked debate. Some fans claimed the name Villa's Tacos was a nod to Pancho Villa, the Mexican revolutionary known for being the only figure to invade U.S. territory during the Mexican Revolution. Whether that connection was intentional, coincidental, or pure fan theory, it added another layer to an already dense performance. The food stands themselves, coconut stand, nail salon, taco stand, represented something deeper than set decoration. A Reddit user pointed out they symbolized the hustle culture defining so many Latin American families. In many communities, people open small stands or shops right outside their homes to survive tough economies. It's a daily grind showing strength, pride, resilience. These aren't just businesses, they're survival strategies born from necessity and turned into community institutions. That's why the boxing ring moment made sense too. Boxing has long been viewed as a pathway out of poverty across Latin America, where champions often rise from the humblest beginnings. Then came one of the wildest moments. An actual wedding happened on stage. Not a performance, not a skit. A real couple got engaged and then immediately married, with Lady Gaga appearing to sing during the ceremony. Reports later confirmed the wedding was legitimate. Some cultural critics suggested Lady Gaga's role might have been a subtle critique of how Latino artists are often invited to perform at events, weddings, quinceañeras, parties, mainly as entertainment rather than being celebrated as equals in mainstream American culture. Intentional or not, it sparked conversation about visibility, representation, and who gets to be at the party versus who just performs for the party. The stage was packed with A-list cameos: Cardi B, Jessica Alba, Pedro Pascal, Hollywood royalty blending with Latin soul. But beneath all that star power, Bad Bunny kept his message grounded. At one striking moment, Ricky Martin, another Puerto Rican legend who'd been publicly political for years, joined him to perform Lo que pasó a Hawaii, What Happened to Hawaii. Martin sang the haunting chorus: "They want to take away my river and the beach too. They want my neighborhood and for grandma to leave, because I don't want them to do to you what happened to Hawaii." That song hit hard. It spoke directly to colonialism, not just in Puerto Rico, but across lands that have faced the same pattern. Outsiders arriving, taking over resources, pushing out locals, rewriting identities, erasing histories. Hawaii's story is one of annexation, overthrow of indigenous government, cultural suppression, and eventual statehood under circumstances many native Hawaiians still contest. Puerto Rico's story shares uncomfortable parallels. Territorial status, political powerlessness, economic exploitation, cultural tension. Bad Bunny used this performance to remind people that history isn't just something that happened in textbooks, it's still happening. It echoes in today's struggles. Right after that emotional high, the tone shifted dramatically. A sequence showed collapsing power lines with people falling, symbolizing the massive blackouts plaguing Puerto Rico for years. Consequences of failing infrastructure, inadequate federal support, and the aftermath of Hurricane Maria that still hasn't been fully addressed. One Reddit user wrote, "Storms and poor electrical infrastructure are constant issues on all U.S. territories. The longest I went without power was 2.5 months." Many fans saw this as a direct call-out to the island's ongoing struggle for stability and support, a reminder that while Puerto Ricans are Americans, they don't receive the same emergency response or infrastructure investment as states. Then came one of the boldest visuals: Bad Bunny emerging from the field holding a Puerto Rican flag with a light blue triangle instead of the usual dark blue triangle. That seemingly small color difference carries massive meaning. The light blue represents sovereignty and independence. The dark blue stands for Puerto Rico's current territorial status under U.S. control. The original light blue flag was actually banned in Puerto Rico from 1948 to 1957. Possessing it was illegal, punishable by up to 10 years in prison. By holding that specific flag on America's biggest stage, Bad Bunny made a statement about identity, autonomy, and history that most viewers didn't even catch, but those who knew, knew. The performance built toward its climax with everything converging: culture, history, politics, identity, all wrapped in spectacular production value. Then Bad Bunny did something nobody expected. He switched to English for the first and only time, saying,
God bless America!
Conservative critics who'd been hate-watching probably felt vindicated for a split second, but he didn't stop there. The stadium lights flashed through 20 flags from across North, Central, and South America, including the U.S. and Puerto Rico, before he spiked a football reading, "Together we are America." Behind him, the screen lit up with one final message: the only thing more powerful than hate is love. It was stunning, emotional, perfectly calibrated. He didn't protest America, he redefined it. He didn't reject the Superbowl platform, he used it to expand what American actually means, to include the territories, the Spanish speakers, the immigrants, the colonized, the overlooked. He flipped the entire script. Everyone expected anger, he gave love. Everyone expected division, he gave unity. Everyone expected a protest, he gave a celebration that was also a history lesson, a political statement, and a cultural assertion all at once. The performance ended, the crowd went absolutely wild. And then President Trump logged onto social media. The backlash came fast and predictably. Trump posted a scathing reaction calling Bad Bunny's performance absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. He said it makes no sense, is an affront to the greatness of America, and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Then he added, and I genuinely cannot stress enough that this is a real quote, but do you know who does represent all those things? Kid Rock. He actually said that, out loud, on the internet, for everyone to see. Trump continued, nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for children watching across America and around the world. He called it a slap in the face to our country, before randomly pivoting to complaints about NFL kickoff rules, which somehow made the entire rant even more unhinged. Meanwhile, Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show was happening simultaneously, headlined by Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brees, and Gabby Barrett, all country artists. Former Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth showed support. But here's where it gets absolutely hilarious. Viewers immediately noticed the audio on the live stream was completely out of sync, sparking rumors it wasn't even performed live. Some accused TPUSA of using bots to inflate viewer counts, a theory even conservative commentators like Candace Owens and Milo Yiannopoulos joked about online. The production quality was so bad, the messaging so forced, that it ended up looking less like a legitimate counter-event and more like a poorly planned reaction thrown together out of spite. The alternate show was meant to be a statement about real American values. Instead, it became a punchline. Meanwhile, Bad Bunny's performance was being dissected frame by frame across social media, with fans discovering new layers of symbolism, historical references, and cultural callbacks they'd missed on first viewing. The contrast couldn't have been starker. One show was a masterclass in cultural storytelling, production value, and symbolic density. The other was, well, Kid Rock out of sync with whatever was happening on screen. Here's the truth nobody on either extreme wants to admit. Bad Bunny didn't protest, he celebrated. He didn't attack, he educated. He didn't divide, he reminded people that America has always been a mix of cultures, languages, identities, and histories, and that strength comes from embracing that complexity, not fighting it. He took everything thrown at him, the controversy, the political tension, the ICE debates, the floating island of garbage comment, the questions about whether he was American enough, and turned it into art. Not angry art, not divisive art, but art that said, you tried to make me feel less than, instead, I'm going to show you exactly who we are, where we come from, and why that matters, and I'm going to do it on the biggest stage in the world in my language representing my people, and you're going to watch every second of it. 128.2 million people watched live, billions more streamed clips afterwards. Whether they loved it or hated it, they couldn't look away. The performance generated 4 billion social media views within 24 hours, a 137% increase from the previous year. One NFL Instagram post alone, captioned "Only thing more powerful than hate is love," racked up 179 million views and became the league's most watched clip ever. Those aren't just numbers, that's cultural impact. While critics ranted about foreign performances and un-American displays, millions worldwide saw the show for what it actually was, a proud celebration of Latin roots, modern unity, and the fact that Puerto Rico is America, whether some people like acknowledging that or not. The performance wasn't about hate, it was about love, for culture, for history, for identity, for community. And maybe that's exactly what made certain people so uncomfortable. Because if you spend years building political power on division, on us versus them, on questioning who belongs and who doesn't, then someone showing up and saying, "We're all America, we're all in this together, love is stronger than hate," becomes a direct threat to that entire worldview. Bad Bunny didn't just perform at the Super Bowl, he turned America's biggest stage into a mirror, forcing people to confront what they actually believe about identity, belonging, culture, and power. And the reactions, both the celebrations and the outrage, proved exactly why it mattered. If you made it this far and you're not subscribed yet, seriously, what are you even doing? Hit that button. We're breaking down the stories behind the spectacle, the symbols they don't explain, the conversations everyone else is too scared to have. Don't sleep on this. Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show will be studied for years, not just as entertainment, but as a cultural moment that captured where America actually is versus where people wish it was. He proved you don't need to shout to be heard, you don't need to attack to make a point, you don't need English to unite people, and you definitely don't need permission to take up space that's already yours. Whether you loved it, hated it, or still aren't sure what half of it meant, one thing's absolutely certain: nobody's forgetting that halftime show anytime soon. So, what do you think? Was Bad Bunny's performance a powerful cultural statement, or was it too political for the Super Bowl stage? Was the symbolism intentional, or are fans reading too deep? And most importantly, did it change anything, or was it just a moment that'll fade like every other halftime show? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear them, especially if you disagree. Thanks for watching, and if you made it all the way through this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns of the biggest cultural